Welcome, everyone. I'm Richard Herskowitz, the artistic director of AIFF, and with me here is Daniel Hymanson, the director of the film you just saw. Daniel, welcome.
Hi, Richard. Thank you very much for having me.
We've just seen this incredible portrait of two artists, a portrait of a relationship. Let's just start with how you got to know Jackie and Don.
Yeah, so Jackie taught a children's art class at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. And when I was 5 years old, my mom enrolled my sister and I in that class. And it was just an incredible art class and made like a big impact on me when I was like a little kid. Made me excited about making art. And you see a little of that in the film. Like we would transform the classroom into these different sort of wild environments. And then my family stayed in contact with her, and we'd occasionally come and visit her house. And so I got introduced to like the wider world of Jackie's side and got to know Don a bit, and really like fell in love with her artwork and her sort of installations. And then when I got older, we'd play music together. Like I'd bring my bass over here, and she'd play piano, and we'd when I was a teenager. So we just became friends. And she was always someone who I looked up to, and like felt very lucky to know and admired very much. And so as soon as I sort of knew that I wanted to make films, I knew that I wanted to make a film like about or with Jackie.
So you you had been musical collaborators for a while, longtime friends. I mean, what was the making of the film in any way a kind of a collaboration between you and your subjects?
Yeah, I mean, I think like in some ways, like I think we had those sorts of discussions throughout production. Like I think at certain points it didn't feel to Jackie like that was the case. Like it did feel like I was making a film about her, and she didn't really feel like I think that was it didn't feel like a creative project for her. I think at the same time, like the film became something like very, very different from how I would have initially expected or wanted it to be. And that was because of how Jackie acted when I was filming, what she was interested in doing and talking about. And so I think in those sorts of ways, it was certainly a collaboration. And then also in the ways that I was like, from spending time with Jackie and Don, just learning a lot, like it was a collaboration in that way. Like I think my sensibilities are definitely changed because of all the time that I spent with the two of them.
And how much time was that in the making of the film?
Well, I've said like different things since the film came out, sort of, but in 2012, I shot for 6 months with Jackie. None of that footage is in the film, but it's like just a series of interviews with her, like about her growing up and her artwork and her teaching. And that's what I initially thought the film was about, or sort of going to be, just these interviews. And then maybe 5 years but most of the footage is like a couple months at the end. Mm-hmm. And then like some of it is like a couple years later. So like over the course of like 8 years that from the film was made.
So can you tell us about how she felt when she saw the final result, when you showed it to her?
Yeah, I mean, I was worried about that because she's like, she has strong opinions about films and just about, she's a very opinionated person. And I hadn't, I hadn't, like when we first started shooting, I showed her snippets of footage, her and Don, sort of after I was filming with them. Mm-hmm. But then that process I was like, I'm never going to be able to make a film if we're discussing like everything, because it was like, she was, she cares like deeply about the space and her artwork. And so that was, the discussions became more about like the angles that I was shooting the space in, and sort of what objects were blocking the colors in the house. And instead of like I was like, oh, this is just never going to work. And so there had been like a while before she had seen, and I wanted to sort of get like a cut right that felt okay to me. And it felt like how they were portrayed felt like I knew what it was, and it felt okay to me. And so before I showed her the film, and yeah, so I was worried about it, but then she saw it and she feels like very proud of it. And she thought it was, it was just so exciting to hear her laugh at certain things. And then she was able, we had one in-person screening at the film's premiere, and she was able to come for that, or we had like a couple in-person screenings, but just at the premiere, like right before shutdowns happened in March. And and so it just meant so much to me that she was proud of the film. And just because she also worked on it for so long and put a lot of work into it, and put so much of herself into the film also.
Yeah, we were talking earlier about the collaboration between you and her, but one of the strongest collaborations, that appears to me, is between you and the editor. There is, his name is Isidore Bethel. Is that how it's pronounced?
Yeah, Isidore Bethel.
Yeah, I just think the film is so beautifully edited, and I just think, I'd like to hear about your collaboration on the editing of the film. Just the things that struck me, just things that you don't do. It doesn't have a traditional narrative structure. Just the opening. It takes a while to realize who this artist is that we saw working in the kitchen at the beginning, and then we see the archival footage. It's you don't you kind of leave it to the viewer to sort of make discoveries in the course of it. You don't do certain things like putting music over your use of the archival footage. There's just so many things that are impressive about the editing. Could you talk about that?
Yeah, I feel so lucky to have had the relationship with like the editor that I do or did throughout the film. Like, I can sort of tell it's his film, which I think is very cool. Like, it very much feels like a film that he edited, like stylistically, and like, yeah, very much a collaboration. And it's like very, yeah. But I was sort of like worried because I'd worked on the film for so long and felt very, very close to the people I had filmed. I sort of expected to have doubts about who I was working with when I was sort of looking for, I had also never worked with an editor before. And so, but then I saw a film, and I thought probably we'd, work with one editor and then maybe work with another later on. Like, I just didn't think it would, I just thought that it would be a difficult process. But then I saw a film that Izzy edited called Of Men and War.
Yes.
And I just thought it's just like an incredible movie. And also like was very respectful of the people that it was filming, sort of gave them time and space, sort of like respected what they were saying in a way, and like through the edit. And so we had a mutual friend, like not through film, and who connected us. And then we happened to be in Chicago at the same time, even though he was living in Paris. It was just like a coincidence. And then we got to know each other, and then I asked him a couple months later if he'd be open to editing the film. And it was like the film is just so different because he was the editor of it. Like, we started from the very beginning, looking through all the footage I had shot and all the archival, and he would take out, and we would just each take out these moments that sort of spoke to us for any reason. Mm-hmm. And the things that he took out, I would have never thought to take out. So it was just like such a fun, interesting process, and like really changed the way that I thought about film. And then sort of as far as like some of them, like the choices for like no music and the way that archival works, I think, I guess with the music, there's like already a lot of good music in the film. Like Jackie has sort of scored the film, and Don, there's like the Willie Nelson Don scene, like where he's dancing. And so I really wanted to have music in the film, and we tried a number of times. I was like working with a friend of mine, and it just never felt like it was adding anything. And also, like, I think a lot of it always felt like I'm confused about the tone and what Jackie, like what things, it just feels like very complex, and I don't quite, it always felt like we were trying to make sense of something I didn't really quite understand, and I liked keeping it a little like complex, like it is.
Yeah. It's my opinion. It's often a good idea to bring in another point of view as an editor. There are some filmmakers. I remember meeting Al Maisels, who just didn't seem to care that much about the editing at all. He was a shooter first and foremost, and would send things back, he told me, to his office, and and that the finishing would get done. And there's some documentary filmmakers who are great, shooters and cutters. Often I'm thinking of Ross McElwee, who becomes almost a different person when he edits his films and looks at it as if it was made by another filmmaker in the shooting. That's what I heard him once say. But do you think you're going to continue to do this work with another editor?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to just keep on working with Izzy. Like that the same. I mean, we're like, I've been shooting something and like sending footage back and forth to him. I just like to continue working with him. It was just like such a fun collaboration, and like I just learned so much, and I feel like the film I really like the film because of what he brought to it. So
can you say a little more about finding the archival material? And again, I love the way you let it play out. And so many of the films I've been looking at lately, the archival footage is just used for seconds, illustratively, and then moves on.
Yeah, I mean, that was like our goal was for the archival to function as any other footage in the film, because just thinking of it as sort of, I think Izzy talked about it like this at one point, just like thinking of it as just other footage shot by another filmmaker, like shot by Jackie or Don, or so each of them are we tried to make them standalone like scenes. I had at some point, like Jackie and Don let me look through a bunch of footage, or a bunch of sort of stacks of Super 8 and VHS footage that they had just like stored in a closet and tapes. Like for a couple of years, Jackie had carried around a tape recorder in like the early 80s. And so there's like a lot of these, when there's one scene in the film where there's a recording of them talking to each other with still images about like being an alligator and a mouse. And that's from those like audio recordings that she had. And it was really fun for me to be able to watch through all of that stuff and get sort of to know Jackie and Don at earlier periods in their life, especially the audio recordings, because that was like just sort of these long conversations. Mm-hmm. And then they made these Super 8 films that are like really beautiful and sort of very, very much like short films. And so some of that's in there also. And the dance films that they recorded also. But yeah, I think it also felt important. I think Jackie in the film also talks about the past and sort of these memories that she has in the past as being very present in her current life and being just as important to her as sort of things that have happened a week ago or something like that. So it felt appropriate to treat that footage in the past in the same manner that we were treating the footage that I shot currently.
Yeah, well, I think you've made such a beautiful reflection on aging in this film, and you're such a young guy. I mean, there's such powerful moments. They're subtle. I mean, her comment about that she has been an artist of disintegrating materials, and here I am disintegrating, she says at one point. So that's a really nice touch. That roller skating scene is so powerful. Could you say anything about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think as like roller skating and dancing was very central to Jackie's identity for so many years, and so, and her art making has been very like physical, and so as she's gotten older, it's been hard for her in that way, because it's like she can't skate and she can't really dance like she used to, even though she's still, I mean, in the film she still very much can dance, but yeah, I mean, I think at that point she's yeah, it's like tough because
Yeah.
she would love to be roller skating there.
Right. And both of them were just so physical in how they made their art, that the aging is particularly cruel. How is she doing now with Don gone? Can you tell us anything about that?
Yeah, so Don died about a year and a half ago, and I feel very lucky to have had the experience with him over the course of like 10 years making the film, and to be able to like have a very close relationship with him and spend all that time with him during that time. Jackie is at like she's doing all right. She's at a like a I'm blanking on sort of the like an apartment, an assisted living apartment, and in like it's a smaller space that's like easier to maintain, but it's very much like her space. Like she's transformed it into like a Jackie Seiden environment. It's all pastel colors. There's like suitcases. There's new installations all around the apartment. It's 2 rooms, but it's like it looks like her space, and it's crazy to walk in from this very. I like this sort of. I like the building, but it's like it feels like a. It's sort of pretty sterile and when you walk through these halls, and then you open her door and it's just like, oh, you've entered like another world. But yeah, she's I mean, it's of course been hard for her, you know, in ways that I can't imagine losing Don. But.
So Daniel, you've had a really successful festival run with the film. It premiered at True False, I believe, about a year ago. And so what's the future for the film? I understand it's been picked up by Oscilloscope.
Yeah, I mean, we don't yet have a release date, but hoping sort of sometime relatively soon the film will be out, and I'm so excited to sort of share it with more people.
Yeah, well, not that many documentary features get distribution, and this is your first, so congratulations on that. We'll help spread the word when it gets released, and I believe people who are watching the film today will do the same. So Daniel, thank you so much for participating in our 20th anniversary festival this year and bringing us your wonderful film.
Thank you so much for having it. Yeah, it was nice talking to you.
Nice talking to you.